And we continue at 2:06 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
John, with all this news about Encino, it was bound to happen. Somebody was going to get confused about what exactly is a city in L.A. and what is a neighborhood. And today's victim is ABC 7's David Gonzalez.
And this time last year, there were at least 10 burglaries in the month of July in the Valley right now. But a majority of those incidents did take place in the city of Encino.
Encino is not a city.
It's so funny. When people move here from somewhere else, nobody has any clue where they actually live.
Panorama City is not a city.
Beverly Hills, an incorporated city. West Hollywood, incorporated city. You go over, though, into Hollywood, that's part of L.A. Got it?
It's such a confusing mess here. No wonder the government's terrible.
If you're in West Hollywood and you cross Sunset into the Hollywood Hills, that's L.A. On the other side of Sunset, nope, West Hollywood, independent city.
Encino is a neighborhood. It is not a city.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. It is our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. He is the former minority leader at the New York City Council. He's now the managing director of the Chartwell Strategy Group, Joe Borelli. Joe, welcome.
John, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks so much for stopping by today. And all eyes are right now on New York City local politics because in the Democratic primary for mayor, Mamdani, who is a socialist candidate, ended up defeating your former governor and others in that primary, including former Governor Cuomo. And now he is a heavy favorite to be the next mayor of New York City, and will be even more of a favorite if the other candidates can't figure out a way to consolidate their support behind one horse. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think that consolidation is just so necessary that their egos will be put aside and one candidate will be the candidate that all the non-socialists get behind to defeat the socialist threat in New York City? Or do you think that the egos are just too big and this guy's going to benefit because of it?
Well, look, of the three candidates who are competing for second place, essentially now, none of them have the personality or lack of ego to just voluntarily get out of the race. The reality is that the public will do that for them. The public, I believe, is smart enough to see who is coming in that second place position by mid-October to late October when early voting starts. And I think there's going to be a tremendous amount of pressure from news outlets. Right? Most of the newspapers have taken positions against Mamdani. So I think you're going to see some media pressure talking about how, the race really is between Mamdani and X, whether that X today is Cuomo or Eric Adams or the Republican, Curtis Lewa. I can't predict yet. And no one, if anyone can tell you what's going to happen, they're lying to you, because right now it really is a neck-and-neck race, with the exception of Mamdani, who has like this built-in 35% of the vote just being on the Democratic line in a Democratic city.
What do you think is going to happen if he actually wins? Because I know that Cuomo has said that he's going to move to Florida, and that's rich coming from him as someone who wrecked that state in Albany. But you look at the reality of what many business owners in particular could be facing. If he is a socialist in the mold of like an Upton Sinclair, where he believes the government should own the means of production, and he said that, and he's identified certain sectors of the business community that he wants the government to take over, like grocery stores. What do you do if you own grocery stores in New York and there is a threat that I guess the government could come take your property through eminent domain and put you out of business? What are you hearing from the business people?
I mean, they're very concerned. Look, I mean, you used to pay a premium to live in New York, and people paid that through their income taxes. Businesses paid that through the state's tax structure, through the city's unincorporated business tax, which is a tax on small businesses. And people for many years were willing to pay that premium. But ironically, it was under Governor Cuomo, when he was in charge of the state, where New York began to lead the country in outmigration, really just only behind California in terms of raw number, but in some years a higher per capita exit of people. And it was partially the result of those policies. Now you're going to see the return of policies like that, plus worse ideas. And the business ideas are just silly. So he came out and clarified his government grocery store plan by saying, well, government grocery stores will be able to buy in bulk, as though, Costco and the local supermarket chain are not already buying in bulk. Like this is someone who has a disconnect from the reality of how commercial enterprises actually work. But my point is, you're going to have the bad tax structure, and you're going to add to that all these different social programs that he's going to implement and legislation that he will sign. Right now, the City Council of New York is a radical body. They have bills to legalize prostitution, to legalize, open-air injection sites all over the city. And to his credit, Eric Adams wasn't a pretty effective check on the council. His threat of a veto caused a lot of these bills to die. Instead of that, you're going to have Zoran Mamdani and the next city council speaker like Maverick and Goose with their hands on the throttle, putting the afterburners on of all these crazy policies. You're going to see this exodus accelerate in the next 4 years if he is the mayor.
Do you think, so you think more people are going to leave. Are they going to go to places like Connecticut and New Jersey, or are they going to go to Florida and they're just going to leave the Northeast altogether for red states?
Well, look, I mean, I am a part-time resident of Naples, Florida myself. So, if that's any indication of where people are thinking, that people should read into that. But you'll see some migration to Connecticut, but no one's going to Connecticut for their tax structure. I mean, it's another high-tax state with tremendously high property taxes. If Jack Ciattarelli wins for governor in New Jersey, which he has a great chance of winning, he might be the Glenn Youngkin of 2025. Where he pulls off somewhat of an upset. He's down by 5 or 6 points. There's a lot of momentum behind him. There's a lot of momentum moving towards the right in New Jersey. So he might win. And if he wins, you'll see some people choose Jersey as an option. But mostly people are moving to the Carolinas, Tennessee, and yes, Florida.
One of the things that I get all the time when I travel, and I'm sure as a New Yorker you get the same thing, when you tell them where you live, when you tell them where you're from, they look at you like you're on drugs. Why in the hell would you live there if you could live in Arizona or Nevada, Florida, Texas, fill in the blank? Why would you put up with all the crime, all the taxes, all the homeless, the shutdown during COVID, and the inability to buy insurance, all the problems that we deal with here? And I always say the same thing. I say you can't run away from these problems because these problems tend to follow you. Before New York, it was Chicago that elected a socialist mayor. Mm-hmm. And people just kind of wrote that off as a one-off. Well, Lori Lightfoot was awful, and I guess he was the alternative that the teachers' unions got behind. And Chicago's a crazy place, but that'll play in Chicago, but nowhere else. Well, now look at what happened in New York City, where New York City could be facing a socialist mayor or electing a socialist mayor. And now I guess it's a possibility in Minneapolis, where the Democratic Party got behind the socialist candidate over their incumbent mayor who's running for another term. If Karen Bass were to be in a tough reelection, I don't think she would lose to a conservative. I think she would probably lose to a socialist candidate in the mold of Mamdani. And I just don't think you can run away from this. I think you have to take it on, head on, and you got to defeat it, because it'll just follow you wherever you go next eventually.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I think you're seeing a lot of, Democrats in New York, people that I consider progressives, but people I respect, in terms of their intelligence and desire for a free capitalist economy. They just happen to be Democrats. You're seeing a lot of people push back against Mamdani because of that very reason. But it is a trend. And I think, look, not everything goes back to Trump, but in some cases, the reaction is sort of always the equal and opposite, right? So Trump is a larger-than-life figure. It doesn't surprise me that people who are the most radical on the left are going to be the ones getting attention. And I have to give Mamdani credit. He won by being a socialist in a Democratic primary, by being open and avowed. He wasn't hiding who he is. He didn't hedge what he was saying. In fact, He met with a group called the Partnership for New York, which is essentially a club of major CEOs who have headquarters and operations in New York. So everything from Jamie Dimon, down to the local supermarket chains and real estate developers and finance industries and banks, et cetera, et cetera. And he didn't hedge a single one of his positions. He didn't hedge one. The point is, you're going to see this reaction, and they're not going to be hiding who they are. And Mamdani proved that you can be elected to office in the state legislature and be kind of a wacky socialist, right? Every state has one or two, but you can also win a primary in a major city by continuing and not hedging and not playing for the middle, but by entrenching yourself on the left and motivating people on the left.
You make an excellent point, and I think that the Trump derangement syndrome has a lot to do with this, because one of the things that Trump has benefited from in his political career is that he brings out the worst impulses in his political enemies. And with Trump derangement syndrome, it seems like there's no ideological consistency to the positions that they take on issues anymore. It's just if Trump's for it, they're against it, and that's good enough for them. If Trump is a capitalist, then okay, we've got a socialist who's running for mayor of New York. So if Trump's the capitalist, then we're all socialists now, and that's our horse. That's the guy that we're going to vote for. I mean, you look at like someone like Nancy Pelosi, for example, who's been in Congress and politics for a very long time. I read her book about power that came out some time ago. The biggest chapter in that book was about China and how the Chinese government is awful and how they manipulate our currency, they scam our businesses, they don't respect human rights, and trade is the way to get them to modify their behavior. And we shouldn't let them be part of the WTO, no most favored nations. Let's go after them with trade. Trump gets in, gives her everything that she wants, everything that she's been fighting for her entire career on the issues she claims to care about more than anything else. And, of course, she's opposed to it. So I think what's motivating a lot of the Democratic voters and electeds right now is just reflexively opposing everything that Trump is for, including capitalism.
Well, John, the problem with that is that it actually did work in the midterms in 2018 in Trump's first term. And that was because, you had the Russian collusion narrative. You sort of had the narrative out there that Trump is the devil incarnate. And if Trump continues unchecked, the country will fall apart, will descend into chaos and war and famine and all this stuff, right? They're playing the same playbook. They're going for that same narrative. However, right now the public has been educated. They not only survived Trump 1.0, but they realized that Trump 1.0 was a lot better than Joe Biden. And it was a lot better than Kamala Harris would have been. And people aren't as knee-jerk scared of what Trump can do. So I just don't think you're going to see, I think the Democrats are going to try to do that, but I think we're also seeing signs where they are not totally on board with the anti-Trump all the time, everywhere, every moment idea. And I'll give you the example of Zoran Mamdani. Hakeem Jeffries, in a rare moment of political knowledge and acuity and adroitness, he actually declined to endorse Mamdani. And I think that was very smart on his point, because he knows if he endorses him, then Mamdani is the face, the second face on every Republican mouthpiece in every contested election around the country. So I think you're seeing a little bit of hesitation of Democrats going full bore against Trump as they were in Trump 1.0.
What do you think the rest of them are going to do as we get closer to the election? People like Governor Hochul and Chuck Schumer and others. Do you think they're going to eventually endorse this guy?
Yeah, I think they're going to wait and see who comes in second place, or who's consolidating at second place, and they're going to see whether there's a reality that person might be able to win. Now, Cuomo has burned a lot of bridges, and some people will never support him no matter what. It's crazy for me to think I might be forced to click the lever for him. But I think if Adams actually surges again in the polls, I actually think you will see some elected Democrats, some clergy leaders, different locuses or loci of power around the city consolidate around Eric Adams. He's already getting some labor support from moderate labor unions. In fact, all the police unions have now endorsed Eric Adams for mayor, because it's the devil you know. Was the guy a great mayor? Nope. but he's sure as heck better than Zoran Mamdani, and he doesn't want to turn our city into a socialist wasteland.
What about the Republican, Curtis Sliwa, who did mornings on our sister station, WABC, for years and years and years with Ron Kuby, who's just a regular face on local television out there, part of the Guardian Angels, has run for office unsuccessfully before. Is he what you would regard as a legitimate candidate, a credible candidate, or is this an opportunity for him to get out and try to extract something from Adams or whoever it is that he gets behind?
I mean, I've known Curtis for many, many years. He is 100% clear that he will not take anything in exchange for getting out. He's not interested in anything else. And I commend him for that. That said, there might be a ceiling. He got 28% of the vote last time. The Republican line, Nicole Maliotakis, a member of Congress, she ran 4 years before that. She got 28%. And the guy who ran before that got about 26%. So Curtis has to figure out, and I'm not sure he's getting there. I mean, certainly the polls are indicating he's got some momentum, but he's got to figure out how to get from 28% to about 35, 36, 37%. He can win. In the past, he's had to get to 50%, right? And maybe the race at that point was sort of an exercise in ego and just something he was doing for fun. But now he has a real chance to be competitive, if not win. So, I mean, I've been talking to people on his campaign, friends of his closer than me, and saying, guys, this is what I think you should do to really make yourself a legitimate, credible candidate. There's a ceiling for Republicans in New York City, but I don't think that 35, 36% is actually the ceiling. I think that's within the range.
What does your gut tell you? Who do you think is going to be the next mayor?
Gut tells me Mamdani. With the Democratic enrollment in this city, it's going to be tough to simply overcome just the enrollment advantage that Democrats have, and just the institutional, memory voting of the Democratic Party that so many people who are not actively engaged in politics will have.
You're a smart guy, but I hope you're wrong.
I hope so, too. John, I hope I'm dead wrong on this one. Let's hope Curtis Sliwa or even Eric Adams wins. The city would be much better off.
Joe Borelli, former minority leader at the New York City Council, managing director of the Chartwell Strategy Group. Joe, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you very much.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, with the end of the show quickly approaching, if you want to continue listening to us after we sign off at 3, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's the Apple Podcasts app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. You could do what George Gascon does to himself in the middle of the night.
Do a Google on YouTube.
You can get the KABC app. You can get the KSFO app. So many ways to listen live to this radio station and download all the podcasts. Listen to them on your free time. Catch up on old shows. But be careful. If you're listening to our show by yourself, inside your home, and no one else is around you, make sure the volume isn't turned all the way up. You just want to be careful that you're aware if in case you have an old friend that is trying to break into your house with an axe.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. And right now it's time to reopen the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And Randy, we're all in luck because this edition is an Ed Laskos version.
Enough already.
It's funny. We had on the list yesterday a story about an AutoZone that got looted after a street takeover, but it was really short. There wasn't a lot of details, and we were going to get to it, but I had a feeling that if we just waited 24 hours, maybe we would be lucky enough that Fox 11 would send out the best in the business to yet again cover a street takeover looting in South L.A.
How crazy is that?
And I was right.
Christmas came early this year.
Aren't you glad that we didn't do the story yesterday now?
I'm very happy.
For more on yet another street takeover that leads to a store getting looted, this time an AutoZone, and it's not the first AutoZone that this has happened to recently. Here is Fox 11 and the one and only Ed Lascos.
And it's on like Donkey Kong.
It seems to be happening more often. Another AutoZone store looted in South L.A. Officers arrived.
Maybe they were just hungry for motor oil.
Well, if that's the case, we know where the cops can pick him up in the emergency room.
Officers arrived about 1:30 this morning, and then they found the mess. Fox 11's Ed Lascos, he's there in downtown L.A. with the latest now. Ed, you've been covering these all too often, it seems.
Yeah, very much so, Marlon. It's really a growing trend, an alarming trend for law enforcement. We're talking about the Sunday night summertime street takeovers.
Now there's some alliteration for you.
Take that, Mark Brown.
The Sunday night summertime street takeovers that sadly turn into store takeovers early in the morning, after midnight, early Monday morning, Sunday night, if you will. We had one a week ago in Long Beach. Street takeover. They go into a grocery store, their family-owned, loot the place, and then it happens, well, early this morning in South L.A. That's why LAPD is handling.
You get so amped up for people doing the donuts, you need to steal some hubcaps.
You did so many donuts on the street, you need to go into the 7-Eleven and steal actual donuts.
PD is handling this, looking for some arrests, but at this point, nothing yet. Let's get to it.
Well, it's L.A. County.
No arrests have been made.
There are hundreds of people at these events, but the response times are so little and so late, usually because the police are outnumbered so they can't engage, that everyone just gets away with it, and it happens over and over and over and over again.
Sometimes it's at the same intersection on the same night at the same time every single week.
Nothing yet. Let's get to it. To the video we go. Check it. This the scene. Vernon and May. LAPD get there. Vernon and Maine. They have their guns out, drawn, going through that AutoZone store.
Well, after everyone left.
Because what? The windshield wiper blades are going to rob them?
Aisle by aisle, looking for any looters, but they seemingly are long gone. All that's left is, a real mess, shattered glass all over the place. They smashed out the front windows and doors. Then they went inside and pretty much, as some of the workers were telling us a little while ago, cleaned out the place, left it in shambles, opened boxes, stealing auto parts, stealing tools, even ripping the cash register off the wiring.
Of course.
Can you imagine being the person who's tasked with cleaning all that up?
I'd quit.
Yeah, I think I would too, because you know it's going to happen again next week.
Taking that with them. So a mess there, but again, investigators say it stretches back from, they think, and the evidence and some witnesses, they tell us, a street takeover at that intersection, Vernon and Maine, and then the crowd gets...
Well, of course. That's what happens. The street takeover commences. Lawlessness begins. They know nobody's coming to stop this, so we might as well keep going with the lawlessness. Let's start looting.
Because what the politicians say is, well, we don't want to overreact to it because it's just kids having fun. Well, kids having fun turns into looting just about every single time.
I'm telling you right now, the L.A. County Board of Supervisors is under so much pressure from the state board that is run by all these activist groups to depopulate Los Padrinos Juvenile Hall and the other juvenile halls that we have. And there's all the issues going on over there, mostly because the staff are afraid to go to work because of the violent youth that are in there, that they won't do anything that they have to arrest teenagers for anything because they don't want to fill up that jail.
And the teenagers know they get a free pass.
And then the crowd gets out of control. They target that AutoZone. And
when it was Gascon, they knew that, okay, we can arrest them, but nothing will happen to them. Now, if you arrest them, something might happen to them, and they don't want that place filled up.
Nope.
It is not there. They care more about not looking bad with that than not looking bad with the destruction that happens every single week. Let's not forget, these usually happen in Holly Mitchell's district, and Holly Mitchell is the one that put forth the task force where the number one response to what we need to do for street takeovers is have Barbara Ferrer go to the schools with a slideshow.
Because that'll help.
And then the crowd gets out of control. They target that AutoZone. And
they also have that guy who's on the task force who's with a nonprofit that says you have to blame Vin Diesel for all this because it's just people trying to emulate the Fast and the Furious movies.
Oh, yeah. Blame Hollywood.
And then the crowd gets out of control. They target that hollow zone, and then it is a really tense situation. Listen to LAPD as the officers first arrive.
After everyone left.
Anyone inside the auto zone, make yourself known. Come out with your hands up. This is the...
They were gone.
Well, they know they're wearing body cameras now. It's got to look good for the news.
The Los Angeles Police Department. Anyone inside the auto zone, make yourself known. Come out with your hands up.
There was nobody in there. It is going to be so demoralizing to be an LAPD officer right now.
Just shoot up the fuzzy dice.
Now live, no arrest there. Everybody gone. Police, they sealed off the area, and then they waited for some of the workers to come in, board everything up. But it continues to be a problem, as we've been talking about it the last couple of weekends, especially in the summertime. Law enforcement, they have their task force out, ladies. But these, as some of the neighborhood people, neighborhood association people have been telling us, that these street takeover groups, if you will, they really run by social media, picking their locations. And interestingly enough,
it's not like it's hidden. It's all over the internet, so we know where these things are going to be. We could pre-plan, we could pre-deploy, we could get the CHP involved, which some other counties do. We don't do it.
Well, it reminds me of that story we did last week about the mall in Brentwood in Northern California, when everyone in town knew the mall takeover was coming, and they just let it happen.
Interestingly enough, investigators have been telling us some of these locations are in areas where they're not going to get any help from a lot of the witnesses because they're areas that might be a little seedy.
Well, there is that, too. If you go into gang territory to do one of these things, they're not telling the cops a damn thing.
No, the witnesses aren't talking to the cops. When the witnesses get interviewed by the news, they can't even show their face on TV because they don't want to be targeted.
And a lot of the folks, interesting, as we've been in that area earlier, a lot of folks saying, yeah, we saw what happened, but we're not talking to anybody because we're scared for our own safety. So the investigation wide open on this one.
There you go. Yet again, week after week after week, the same story with the same outcome. Street takeover, business gets destroyed, nobody gets arrested.
Always the case in L.A. County. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Greg writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. Maybe L.A. should be changed from Los Angeles to Looting AutoZone.
That's clever. All right, Randy, we have time for one more addition to the blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And this edition involves an individual who really, really, really needs sunscreen.
Once again, we have a terrible tale of a naked intruder in Sacramento County. He broke in, he took a shower, he drank their vodka, and he had some snacks.
Well, I guess if he's naked, you can't say he was going for his waistband.
For more, here is CBS Sacramento.
Shocking and scary discovery for a North Highlands couple this morning when they returned from the gym to find a naked man inside their home.
Yeah, what?
Home forever and clean. Got to put it on sale.
Yeah, let's hope this one wasn't as bad as the last one we did.
What's going on in this one? The man was eventually taken into custody, but not before leaving behind a mess. The Sacramento County Sheriff's Office says the suspect broke into a home on Sunnyview Lane when no one was there. This is in North Highlands. Your reporter Brady Haubleib tells us the bizarre break-in in the Buff was just the beginning.
Now there's some alliteration for you.
I can only imagine what this home looked like, because if you've ever used a restroom after a homeless person was in there, it takes them exactly 3.2 seconds to destroy everything and contaminate everything.
We'll talk about making yourself at home. The couple that lives at this home told me that this intruder not only got naked, but he ate their food, showered, and shaved, and even...
Yeah, you have to get rid of everything.
Yep.
He used your razor? Oh, boy.
I'd even repaint that bathroom.
And even poured himself a cocktail before police took him into custody.
As I walked up here, I see 2 banana peels over here. I said, what is this thing doing here? And he ate these two, left a little piece for me.
He didn't even finish the 2 bananas?
He ate part of them and just left pieces of banana all over the place?
I ate that too. I thought she did it.
2 half-eaten bananas on the kitchen counter, the first clue that something was very wrong.
Who broke in, Donkey Kong?
2 half-eaten bananas on the kitchen counter, the first clue that something was very wrong.
So as soon as I come up to here, I looked at the hallway over there. I see this young man walking in butt naked.
Well, he could tell there were no more bananas on his person.
I see this young man walking in butt naked, no clothes on. I got up here, I said, hey, what the hell are you doing in my house? How did you get in?
A jaw-dropping moment that quickly turned dangerous when the naked intruder threatened them, saying he had a gun.
Where?
Yeah, that's what you call a hollow threat. No gun there. He did eat a couple of bananas in the kitchen, and all he had on him at that moment in time was an eggplant emoji.
Unless you're holstering in your keister, you don't have a gun on you.
It's not a cell phone being snuck into prison.
His stuff was in there. I don't know whether he has a gun or he's going like this to me.
Prem and Roshni ran outside to call 911 as the man barricaded himself inside. The Sacramento County Sheriff's Office responded, and with the help of a canine unit, deputies were able to take him into custody.
This is what he pulled out.
After deputies hauled him off to jail, the couple walked us through the aftermath.
All these dresser drawers are out here. He had clothes laying there.
To make matters worse, the couple says the man...
What, was he using them as a laundromat?
When you're on meth and you're crazy to begin with, who knows?
To make matters worse, the couple says the man made himself right at home. They say he showered, shaved in their bathroom, and even poured himself a drink from their bar.
Awful. That might be the worst of all the crimes.
Yeah, that bottle definitely has to go.
He shaved here, and this is the mug that he brought, and this is a Grey Goose. How great he was enjoying himself.
He was drinking their Grey Goose out of a mug?
I wonder if he put any rocks in there.
By the way, that's a straight-up alcoholic move, is if you have someone that goes over to your house and they're all of a sudden drinking something out of a mug, they're stealing your booze. I know this from personal experience.
Because you've been the victim or you've been the perp?
I've been the victim.
I see.
Used to not be able to keep expensive booze in the house.
Was it one person in particular that was a repeat offender?
Yes, it was a roommate. And don't miss those days.
I bet.
How great he was enjoying himself.
The same person got so offended when I hid my weed from them that they ruined and unplugged my pool.
Wait, unplugged your pool?
I had one of those outdoor pools that had a plug-in filter. She was so pissed off that she unplugged it, and the pool died.
Wait, was this an above-ground pool?
Yes.
Okay.
It's as white trash as you can imagine.
How great he was enjoying himself drinking Grey Goose here.
Now left with a big mess, 2 fewer bananas, and less vodka in the bottle, Prem and Roshni are still stunned.
We raised 2 boys, grandkids, and never had an issue. Safe environment, we thought, until today.
But they're grateful no one was hurt.
Luckily, nobody got shot or nobody got killed, and everything was just fine.
Yeah, it's not just fine. There's going to be trauma.
Oh, yes. When they have to go through all of the trash and all of the items left behind, and they have to speculate as to what the homeless guy did with those items, they're going to be on Ambien to get to sleep.
It's unclear why the man was there in the first place. He was booked into the Sacramento County Jail, and his identity has not yet been released.
Now, Johnny, let's just compare this naked incident to the last naked incident we had, and you can decide which naked story was worse.
Michael believes the intruder was in his home for several hours and spent a lot of time in the kitchen.
He ate a box of ice cream sandwiches. He ate Dole Whip, a whole box of Beyond Beef burgers. He stuck in the microwave, cooked them, and then ate them.
And Michael's stash of chewing gum.
And I had a fresh pack with 60 inside, unopened. He opened it up, chewed all of them, and then spit a big wad of gum about this big, the size of a softball, like on my kitchen table.
Nothing will ever beat that. No other naked guy robbing a house can beat that.
That's the gold standard for naked stories.
All right, that's going to do it for us today, but we'll be back tomorrow at noon for another edition of The John Phillips Show.